As the president is traveling the country selling the benefits of health care reform, some states are gearing up to oppose it on the grounds that it violates the U.S. Constitution. Earlier, we interviewed Oregon's Attorney General, John Kroger, defending the legislation as constitutional. Well, here's now the other side of the debate. Joining us is South Carolina Attorney General Henry McMaster. Welcome, sir. Thank you for being with us. Since the 1930s, the U.S. Supreme Court has repeatedly said that Congress can regulate almost anything that involves economic or commercial activity. So how is this law unconstitutional?
Well, that's the thing. This one goes too far, and there have been some recent cases. One was the Lopez case, and one was the Morrison case in 1995 and 2000 that said that there is a limit to commerce. But here you have someone sitting at home that doesn't want to buy health insurance, doesn't think they need it, they're not interested in it, and you have the U.S. Congress tell them they have to go out and buy it. They are not in commerce. They're out of commerce.
Right.
So this is taking somebody out of commerce and putting it in, and that's a big difference.
Well, the most recent, though, Commerce Clause case is, I'm sure you know it, Gonzalez. That was in 2005, and it may trump both Morrison and Lopez. Justice Scalia wrote in that case that even non-economic activity can be regulated by Congress if it is, and this is, quote, necessary part of a more regulation of interstate commerce. So doesn't Scalia's opinion, and he's a conservative, support what Congress did?
Well, that would be the argument that the other side will make, but still, now we have 15 states involved, and there may be, 16, and there may be more as well as some other people.
Right.
We say that it simply goes too far. You just can't tell someone they have to go out and buy something that they don't want and they don't think they need. And so that is the fallacy. Right. This law just goes off the scale. It's threatening state sovereignty, individual liberty. It's a very, very big, important question, and we look forward to a full hearing.
But the uninsured affect the healthcare marketplace. This is the point John Kroger, the Oregon Attorney General, made in our last hour, because the uninsured often go to hospitals which by law are required to treat them. And it's a cost to the system, a big one, and it's passed along to insurance companies and consumers in the form of higher premiums and higher costs. So doesn't the failure of, my goodness, 32 million Americans to get health insurance affect commerce, thus allowing Congress to regulate it?
I don't think so, but of course that'll be the ultimate question. But if you take that argument to its logical extreme, as some of our colleagues are, then everything affects commerce in one way or another, and there would be nothing that could escape the power of Congress to regulate it. The line has got to be drawn somewhere, and that's why we have state governments, and those state governments were the ones that gave the authority to the national government. That's why you have enumerated powers. That's why you have a 10th Amendment. We say this just goes way too far, and we're fighting it.
Yes, as Madison said, the powers of the federal government are few and finite. The powers of state government are numerous and infinite, and thus the feds here may be violating sovereignty. But let's forget about the Commerce Clause. Doesn't the Constitution give Congress the power to tax and spend for the general welfare under Article 1, Section 8, so they can go the tax route here and say this is therefore constitutional?
Well, if the Congress, well, you've got a point there, of course. If the Congress was simply taxing people as they are for a variety of other things, including highways and the military and everything else that we do, sure, they can use the tax power for that. But still, there are only certain things that the Congress can regulate. That's where this has to be approached through the Commerce Clause. This is not a taxing question.
You know, there is precedent, and with all due respect to John Kroger, the Oregon Attorney General, he was wrong in citing the weak case as precedent. The better precedent is one of the earliest acts of Congress. It was the Militia Act of 1792. It was signed by President George Washington. It mandated each new recruit show up with weapons and ammunition, which they, out of their own pockets, had to buy, and it wasn't cheap. How is making people buying insurance now any different than that case?
Well, that's a good question, but the way we look at it is when the states were getting together